All right, good morning, Hometown Realty. We got a doozy for you today. We have a lot of folks on the call. I don't know how many the total is. It looks like a bunch and a few more joining in. Let me let them in. Well, we have two special guests, and we're going to try to stay out of their way and let them dominate the conversation and share some wisdom with us. We have Larry Sanders and Ben Rogers, both of whom have really found a great amount of success in the real estate business. Two guys that I just think the world of, and just every time I think about where they've come in this business, it brings a smile to my face. And thank you guys for being willing to share with people of all different experience levels here today. We went through a 100 Days to Greatness program. Both of you guys are very familiar with the Buffini system. You've taken different classes, you've seen them speak live, and we're going to talk a little bit about your experience. But realize that's a lot of this audience are people that have just finished the 100 Days of Greatness, and they're maybe thinking about what to do next. So I'm just going to toss a question out. So how did you guys find your way into the Buffini system, and when did that all happen? So Larry, let's start with you.
Mine was, quite frankly, is dumb luck. I think it was probably 7 years ago. We had a sales meeting, and we did the old fishbowl drawing. You know, put your business card into the fishbowl, and we're going to draw two winners. And whoever wins the drawing is going to take this class called Peak Producers at no charge to them. I was one of the names they pulled, and that was kind of how I got introduced to the Buffini system. And I just kind of told myself that since I got lucky and won a drawing, the least I could do is kind of listen to what, Brian Buffini said and really try to carry out every single action step, that he gave us during the program.
And for those of you that don't know Larry and maybe his whole story, the Cliff's Notes is, that was 7 years ago, but you'd been in the business before that too, right?
Oh yeah. Well, I was licensed. We'll say that.
And then you were sort of out of the business for a while and came back. Okay, so I think that's an important thing to remember as we dig deeper into the Larry Sanders story. Ben, how did you find your way to Buffini?
Sure. So when I first started real estate, I figured working relationally was not going to be a good option for me. As a lot of people know, my father happens to be in the real estate business. And so I figured all of our family, friends, and family members, like they kind of already had their realtor. So I figured I didn't really know where to start with my database. So I actually decided I would jump into cold calling. I paid for a service that I got sold on when I went to a Mike Ferry seminar with Mike Chenault. It's a lot of fun. It was October 8th, 2012. And Mike Chenault looked me in the eye and he said, "Today's the day you start thinking like a badass realtor." And I left the Mike Ferry seminar, and I thought to myself, man, I really don't want to do it this way anymore. So that's how I got into Buffini. I started researching it. No, it was a great seminar with Mike Ferry. But I started with, like Larry, I started with Peak Producers. I started that in December of 2012. And by the time I was done, I think I closed my first deal on December 21st, 2012. By the time Peak Producers was over, in April, I had closed an additional 5 deals with, I think, all double digits pending. And that was all a result of just starting to grow and work off of the database.
So where do you guys think you'd be without it? Hey, let's just say that, Larry, you hadn't gone to that sales meeting, you'd have slept in that morning, or Ben, you had not had this sequence of thoughts based on being with Mike and not wanting to be a badass or whatever it was. Where do you think you'd be? What would be different?
I'd like to think I'd still be successful as a realtor, but in my heart, I know I just wouldn't have as much intention. And I certainly wouldn't have the habits of effective actions to take, weekly, monthly, daily. I got all of that from Buffini and Company. So yeah, I'd like to say that I'd be on the same track, but I really don't think so. I think I'd be doing a fraction of the production, that we close right now.
Yeah, I mean, I was Larry. I think that I would have figured it out, and even if it was a different way, I trust that I would have been able to work hard enough to do that. However, I don't think I would be as happy in the way that I'm doing it. My favorite part about real estate is not handing over the keys to the first-time home buyer, but rather building this relationship with other business owners and business partners and being able to truly be a source for people. I like when clients and business partners call me for referrals to things that have nothing to do with my job. I like being the point of contact for them. And so that kind of mindset, being the source of the source, is something that I have really taken to heart from the Buffini system. And I just don't think, I can't imagine being as happy in the way that my business is run without the Buffini system.
So you guys have both, I know that you have both taken some of the classes. They had 100 Days to Greatness, then they had Peak Producers, and now they've sort of come back to this 100 Days to Greatness theme. But really, it's the same. You learn the fundamentals of the Brian Buffini system, the working by referral system. What should these folks do? I mean, they've been introduced to the fundamentals of this. So what do you do now? What is your advice to them now? How do you make this stuff become habitual, and how do you master this stuff?
I'm a big believer in the simplicity of success. And that's why I think the Buffini system is so great, because it is so simple. And this can get beat into your head a million times. And I've said this phrase, I don't know how many times, but all it takes is calls, notes, and pop buys. Like, that's it. There's no other magic pill to this thing. Dean and Larry, we talk about this a lot. There's been no magic pill to success. If there were a magic pill, it's 3 words. It's calls, notes, and pop buys. Like that's literally all you have to do. It's going to get draining. It's going to feel like you're annoying people. But the moment you feel like you're annoying people by calling them again, writing a note again, or popping by again, I would suggest to you that in that case, you're not confident enough in the value and the service that you provide them. You're not going to be annoying somebody if you're providing a helping hand, if you're providing value, if you are the source of the source. So how do you keep it going? How do you get going? You make calls, you write notes, and you pop by. And if you don't have business, you're obviously not making calls, writing notes, or popping by. It does take some time, of course, but everybody's heard the idea that you always give up just like a day too soon or a call too soon or whatever it is. I think the best advice that I have is be disciplined and keep going, because it does work, and it's proven itself to work no matter how skilled you may actually be.
Yeah, I agree 100%, Ben. I wrote down a couple of notes. I think a good thing to do after you complete any Buffini class is to establish whatever your non-negotiables are going to be, right? What are these things that I'm going to do daily, weekly, monthly, regardless of how I feel? I think if there's one piece of advice to give is kind of put your feelings aside for at least a little while you're building your business. I even tried to kind of go emotionally numb to it for a while, because there's going to be stressful days. And I think that's when excuses creep in, and excuses can bury your business while you're watching other people succeed around you. So establish those non-negotiables, and with your non-negotiables, take it a step further and establish a schedule, right? Follow that schedule and follow those non-negotiables. And I think that gives you a really good head start and some intentionality. The other thing I wrote down is, I really feel like for most new agents, your number one goal is to meet new people with a purpose. That's not necessarily just purely social. You're trying to add to your databases. You're trying to find the people that maybe are like you that you'd want to work with and get referrals from. So always adding to that database.
Yeah, Larry, I want to bridge off of that. You mentioned establishing non-negotiables and finding people with a purpose. One of the, a question you get often after you've been in real estate for 5 or more years, you start getting asked, what's the first thing you do as a realtor, or what's your best advice you can give, or whatever. And it's simply this, and this is one of my non-negotiables: get a coach or an accountability partner. You need one. Everybody needs one. Even if that's just your buddy down the hallway that you're going to check in with each other at the end of the day and how many calls you made. Everybody needs it. It doesn't matter how good you think you are, or how bad you think you are, or how much money you have, or how much money you don't have. Everybody can afford some extra layer of accountability, and that needs to be a non-negotiable, in my opinion, for anybody that wants to take it to the next level.
Well, and especially coming right off of a class where we've really had 2 meetings a week for the last 14 weeks. And whether you thought the class was a revolution in your life or whatever, at least you had some accountability along the way to keep you on somewhat on track. And then all of a sudden you're thrown out into the world, and where is it? So Ben's advice about finding a coach or an accountability partner, I think, really hits home. How do you know how do you, what are there some, obviously if you get a bunch of deals, like if you close 500 deals or whatever, that's a great thing. But how do you know along the way, are there some signs along the way that it's working maybe before you see the deals? Like, because some of the folks, they feel like they've done some stuff and maybe they're not seeing the listings and the buyer transaction or whatever. So are there any signs along the way that there is light at the end of the tunnel?
You want to take that first, Ben?
Sure. I think the immediate sign that I can remember is that the first time I got a referral from a client I was actively working with, like before we had even sold or closed them a house, that was the first tangible, immediate realization I had was, okay, the dialogues I'm using actually work. I think that's the first time I figured it out. That's like the first tangible thing. But I think as far as kind of, the confidence level along the way is you actually will start to get, and I've heard this personally. I've had other agents hear this, where you'll get somebody, one of your clients or your friends or whoever say, and I know, Ben, you're never too busy for our referrals. Like they kind of like are sarcastic with you about it. It's like, okay, I am saying it. I am asking what I'm supposed to and those kinds of things. But that's where you really got to make sure we're layering properly and make sure that we're asking for specific things. And that's where the training really comes in big time, is to make sure that we can actually get those leads, not just make it a joke phrase.
Which is easy to do. I almost think that falls kind of under the excuse category. I wrote down, I think any of us, we want quick results, right? Like, and if those results don't come quickly, we start over analyzing what's going wrong. I think real estate, especially if you're running a business by referral, is something in the beginning that you have to tell yourself that it's going to take time. Not an excessive amount of time if you're doing the right things, but you do have to know up front that, hey, I have to be reasonable about this, and it is going to take a certain amount of time. So what I did was I tried to make sure I took consistent action, and then my only goal was to make progress. Maybe the progress was taking a lead further that day. Maybe it was getting a referral, or maybe it was just kind of doing the 5-3-1 rule to go home feeling good about lead generation. But I think one thing we forget to do is track progress when it doesn't equate to real estate closings or pending transactions. And that doesn't mean that you're not making progress. It just means that you haven't gotten there yet. One thing my Buffini coach tells me is there's no sense in running a 5K and being 2.75 miles through the race and then taking yourself out of the race and going and sitting on the sidelines. So track that progress and pat yourself on the back, even if it's not necessarily a pending or a closed deal.
I'll tell you this too, it kind of as it relates to you just got to keep going with it. If you feel like you're struggling right now and you're not making progress, whether you're executing the Buffini system or something else, I can promise you that prospecting feels good after you're done with it. That will bring you a sense of accomplishment. If you feel like you have not done much, right after this call, you probably don't have anything planned. From 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., make 2 hours of phone calls. And I can guarantee you by 12 p.m., you are going to feel good. If you get leads, that's even better. But it doesn't matter. The result doesn't matter. It's the fact that we're actually doing it every single day. The results will ultimately find you. There's no doubt about it. But if you do it just today, it's just going to feel good today. It's not going to feel good tomorrow. You got to do it again tomorrow. And after you do it, it's going to feel good. It's just like a workout. No one likes to work out. No one likes to run. If you do, I think you're crazy. But when you're done, you're like, man, that felt good. And I'm glad I did that. Same sort of thing here.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would say your brother is probably one who does like to work out, but no normal people, right?
Yeah, he's not normal.
Definitely not.
So this, I think I know the answer to this question, but this might really be good for some of the folks. It's a confidence builder for some of the new folks. Did it take longer than you thought it was going to take?
I'm going to say no.
I would say yeah.
From you, Larry.
Yeah, Larry, you go, and I'll respond.
So
go ahead, tell me, Larry.
To clarify, I'm cutting the first 6 years of my real estate career out of this answer. Okay. So I freely admit being where maybe a lot of you are right now, which is confused, trying to answer questions myself. and giving myself more credit probably than I deserved in those early years. But one thing I can also tell you in full confidence is once you grab a hold of it and you get serious, it does not take as long as you think it will. And I'm proof of that. I'm not from the area. I don't have a bunch of like local contacts and stuff like that. I had this Buffini system and I went to work, and things started happening faster than I expected once I got serious about it.
Great.
I would say that it did, I thought it did take longer than I expected, only because I didn't really have an expectation. And just kind of looking back to that, Buffini was never new when I started, but it wasn't as popular as it is now. And so what I did, I guess, to kind of hopefully start feeling success and feeling good about things, is I kind of set up those markers of specific progress improvements as opposed to actually selling the house. It was, how many calls can I make today? Can I beat yesterday? That kind of stuff. But as far as actually seeing the first or second or third commission check, I felt like it took a while, but I think going back now and realizing how long it actually takes for the average agent, I think you're a drop in the bucket. I mean, you can if you actually do the work, it's going to work. That's not an opinion about Buffini. That's a fact. If you do it, it's going to work. And if it's not working, you're not doing it. And you can have the conversation, you can make excuses all you want, but if it's not working, you're not doing it. Simple as that.
So Ben, I know we talked a lot when you were getting started. I would say for you, I think you expected to have things happen a little sooner than they did in the short run, but I don't, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think like you ever dreamed really
Correct.
that year 3 and year 4 and what, I mean,
Yeah.
So the short term, you were like, come on, come on, where is it? And then all of a sudden we were like talking and you're like, holy smokes, look, this is awesome.
No doubt. I mean, when I first started, I wrote down 1, 3, 5, and 10-year goals in terms of income, sales, where I wanted to be, all that type of stuff. And I think after not the first full year of real estate, but the first full year of Buffini coaching, I was between years 5 and 10 in terms of where I wanted to be income wise. So when put it that way, yes, absolutely. It came on quick once you started doing it. The difficult part is once you get a little taste, you can't stop. I think the process of the calls, notes, and pop buys and generating business by referral, it's simple. It really is a simple process, but it's not easy and it's not going to get easier. But that's why the successful people are successful, is because they break down, they believe in the simplicity of success, and they continue doing those things over and over and over again, no matter how mundane or boring it might feel.
Let me ask you a question to clarify something that you said. I think, Ben, you may have said this, and I'm sure, Larry, you can comment on this. You said if you feel like when you're making these contacts, you're annoying people. Some of us don't have a 500 person database. But if we feel like we're annoying them, I think you said you're just not confident enough in your skills or whatever. Comment a little bit more about that. How do you get over that? What's your advice to people on that?
What I said was you're not confident enough in the value or the service that you're providing. So how do you get over that? It's having a strategized reason and why you're calling people. So it's not always about who do you know that wants to buy or sell a house. Of course, Buffini 101 says that if you don't ask for a referral, it doesn't count as a trackable, proactive call, right? We need to be asking for business. There's no doubt. But there are plenty of other reasons to call. If you don't have a list of 50 to 100 moms on your desk right now that you're calling this week, you're crazy. There's absolutely no reason you shouldn't be doing that. There are other reasons to call people outside of just saying, hey, I'm a poor realtor looking to sell a house in this crazy market, right? And so I think that we need to make sure that when we're calling folks, we believe in the value that we're providing. We believe in the reason that we're calling.
Yeah, to segue off of that, Ben, I wrote down referrals or asking for referrals. That's really the byproduct of another conversation. So it's almost a secondary topic or a secondary goal. The primary, at least for my team, and I think for most people running a business by referral, it's the phone calls are an effort to serve. They're a demonstration of value from you guys who are agents in the know, serving clients who maybe don't have your connections. the mistake though, I think we assume that everybody does have our connections and they're just as good as in that realm of life as we are. And you know, y'all, I can tell you that that's not true. They don't have your connections, but they sure could use them. And I think Ben's idea of Mother's Day is a great idea for everybody to get on the phone immediately after this Zoom chat to make some phone calls. The other thing too is keep in mind holidays, seasons, and stuff like that, and remind yourself how often you get phone calls, notes, pop-bys for any of that stuff. If you're a mom and you get a note in the mail for Mother's Day, I imagine it makes you feel special. If you get 50 Mother's Day notes, you're my hero. So just don't downplay how this stuff makes people feel, and don't fill in the blanks yourselves. I can tell you, Ben can tell you, of course, Dean can tell you, it affects people in the most positive way when you're serving them. They can't wait to give you referrals. It's just a matter of when they're going to have them to give to you. And if you're not staying relevant in their world, they don't mean anything by it, but they may just forget about you, you know, and forget to send you that referral because you didn't send them a Mother's Day card or give them a call.
Well, and Larry, one thing, kind of speaking of that, when you hear a lot of agents say, well, you know, aren't other agents doing that, or aren't other people? I don't want to be like the same as everybody else. Why am I going to be the one that writes notes, does the pop? I was like, other people are going to do that. I want to be different. Newsflash, ain't no one else doing it. I promise you they're not doing it. And the reason is because it's hard. It's hard to do, but it really is a simple thing when you think about it. Write the note, make the call. Simple.
Thank you guys for that. Another clarification, we talked about, you said the source of the source. If you want to be the source of the source, tell me what that really means and why is that valuable versus being just getting real estate referrals.
So we talk about, you asked earlier a little bit about how do you kind of get over the confidence hurdle when you're speaking to folks or whatever. The best thing that I said the part that gave me a lot of confidence on the phone and talking to people when I first started, and I still use this a lot today, is talking to folks like, look, I am new. I am what other people would call inexperienced, kind of going off the objection handling class, but I'm one of the active agents. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to know the answer to every question that you have. And quite frankly, I'm probably not going to know the answer to a majority of them, but I can guarantee you that I will find somebody that does. That's being the source of the source. Taking one step further, once you have the database, you may have a sub database within it that's different business owners, different business partners, service providers, whether we're talking about real estate related, being a home inspector, or maybe it's not, maybe it's a financial advisor. You have relationships with those folks so that when you are working with somebody to purchase or to sell real estate, you're going to learn a lot about them, and you should learn a lot about them. They're going to need other services provided to them, and you want to make sure that you can be the captain of the ship, right? You want to be sure you're helping steer them in a positive direction. If you have the appropriate relationships to help them out, that's great.
Yeah, Let me ask you another question. And this is, we have to put on the honesty cone here. Make sure you're totally honest. What do you have trouble with today? If you break it down to calls, notes, pop-bys, whatever else, are there things today that honestly that you have trouble completing each day? And what do you do? What do you do if you get off schedule and off track?
I definitely have days where I don't accomplish everything that I had on my schedule. What I do is I try to call Friday a hard stop. Friday can be a day of rest or flexibility, or Friday can be a day of finishing strong and doing what it takes. So usually what I do, if I have a couple things that carry over, Friday just becomes a day where those things have got to get done. And at this point in my career, I know, I don't want to say the penalty, but I know the byproducts of those things consistently not getting done. And I want no part of that. So, I think, and this maybe goes a little too deep. I think right now in society, we're really big on excuses and supporting each other in their excuses, if that makes sense. But I don't think that excuses help too many people. I think it's really just rationalizing falling short and trying to make yourself feel good about it. I think grace is important in life, but the fact of the matter is, guys, if Monday through Thursday rolls around and you haven't gotten 50% done of what you wanted to get done, and you set those goals yourself, you guys gotta grab the bull by the horns on Friday and finish strong. And really, there's nobody that can make you do that but yourself.
So Larry, do you try to keep, is Friday basically like, just to clarify what you're saying, is that a day where you try to keep your schedule fairly clear, and that's going to be a catch-up day and a make-up day if necessary, or it's going to be sort of a reward day if you finished all of your responsibilities?
Yeah, I typically try to front load Friday, so I still get up, same time as any other day and knock out the morning stuff. But I really try by 12 or 1 o'clock to be what I call a clear headspace. Maybe I can pick my son up from school. I can do some stuff with the family after work. Or if I didn't achieve my goals that week, that's just a privilege that gets taken off the table, and there's no excuse for that. You got to make it happen. But I find that thinking about that Monday through Thursday and having that kind of, I don't want to say light at the end of the tunnel, that's motivation for me to stay that extra 30 minutes or make those extra few phone calls, to get it done.
That's great. I want you guys to listen. I wrote down, and I hope I got this right, but I think one of the most powerful things I've ever heard somebody say on any of our training is this: I know the byproduct of those things not getting done, and I want no part of that. Okay. I mean, that's just, it's not funny. It's not friendly, but there's nothing more true than that. If you don't do anything, you're not going to get any results. And what Larry says is he doesn't want to be on that end of the deal.
Yeah, I've been there.
He wants to be on the receiving end of the good things in life. So thank you for sharing that. I will make a poster or something of that, because that's pretty badass. We'll get some t-shirts made. Okay, Becky Parker, if you want to unmute yourself, you had a question. You want to see maybe we could get these guys to do a little role play. We didn't. That was not in the contract, but I think they'll be willing to do it. So Becky, if you could ask them the question, if you're out there, what you wanted them to do.
Hey, Becky.
Hello.
What's up, Becky?
I'm actually, let me move. Hold on.
She's going with
I
the
was
reverb.
watching from in the office, but I was away from the screen. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Loud and clear.
Okay. So yeah, I was thinking we can role play. Like, what would you say when you call?
Well, unfortunately, Becky, try
She's
that
back.
one more
She's
time.
back.
What would you say?
We missed it all.
All right, let me see what she wrote to me, and then I'll try to.
Becky, you froze. We didn't hear your whole question.
So when you guys are just checking in with the client, let's say you've sent the item of value or something, and you're just following up with a phone call, or let's just say, Ben, let's do this one first. You're doing the Mother's Day call, and Larry, you can be the mother. All right, we got to get Becky off here. And Larry, you're the recipient of the call. Ben, you're calling because it's Mother's Day, and Larry is a proud mother. Let's hear it.
All right. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Crazy Larry, what's up? It's Ben Rogers. How you doing?
Oh, Ben, I'm good, man. How you doing?
I am fantastic. Hey, I don't want to take up much of your time this morning. I was wondering if you had 2 quick minutes for me.
Yeah, man. Sure.
You're still a mom, right?
Yeah, I'd love to talk.
All right, great. Hey, I just wanted to call and wish you a very early happy Mother's Day. This Friday, I'm actually going to be out and about delivering some Mother's Day gifts. I was wondering if it'd be easier to reach you at your home or your office.
Ben, it probably would be better Friday to come by the office.
Okay, great. Does sometime between 10 and 2 work for you for that?
Yeah, that'll be fine.
Awesome. Well, as we get closer, I'll be sure I send you a text just to confirm what time I'll be there. I'd love to see you face to face and tell you thank you for everything that you've done for us, and also just remind you how important you are as a mom and how much we appreciate you.
Oh, that's really cool. You're the first person that's called me about that this week, man. I'm looking forward to seeing you.
I like to be a little bit early on my Mother's Day calls, beat everybody to the punch.
Better to be early than late.
Well, Larry, thanks again for everything that you do. And I really appreciate all your support and advocacy for our business. If there's anything I can do for you outside of real estate, please remember to make me your first call. We love to be the source for people. And of course, if you know anybody else interested in buying or selling, especially in your area in Hanover County, we would love to work with some sellers in that area.
Yeah, we always try to keep you in mind, man. Wish we sent you more business.
Well, don't keep me in mind. I need you to send me the names and numbers of people that are interested in selling. Can you do that for me?
I think I can.
I would really appreciate it. Thank you, Miss Larry.
You're welcome, Benjamin. Have a great day.
I'll see you on Friday.
So what are some important things, obviously, there that you definitely want to ask for referrals? What are just a couple, if they're just 3 or 4 things that you try to accomplish when you make a database or center of influence kind of phone call?
So that was a pretty easy role play because I'm literally making those exact calls right now. I'm literally doing pop buys on Friday between 10 and 2 to people's home or their work. I like to be able to call to set up the pop buy and make sure I don't forget to ask for a referral. And I also, one thing that we're really working hard on our team, and I hope Brett Hawkins can nod his head to this, is being very specific in what we're asking for, not just asking for people that need a realtor, people that want to buy and sell. Use phrases like zip code, be specific, use the county, specify buyers, sellers, listings, and relate to them on a personal level with that. So we try to ask for things like coworkers. Hey, I know your sons and daughters might be graduating from college and they might be first-time home buyers. We love first-time home buyers, things like that.
Why wouldn't you want to just ask? I mean, do you know anyone who is looking for real estate? Aren't you interested in getting buyers from everywhere or sellers from everywhere?
Well, depends on how you define everywhere. But yeah, of course, we do want buyers and sellers from everywhere. But when you ask specifically, it helps narrow their focus. If you ask for buyers and sellers, like, yeah, I got it. It's kind of like saying never too busy for referrals. Like, we know that, but we need to educate them on how to refer. So when we ask for specifics, I have not found that leads to specific referrals, but it leads to more referrals, potentially even elsewhere, because it gets them very narrow focus.
So to take that a step further, Ben, I love what you said about it narrowing their focus. I think it actually makes us as agent narrow our focus too, and think a little bit more about like what we're going to be saying, right, before we make those phone calls. So having an idea of how you'll ask for a referral, maybe like what, like Ben said, Hanover-based referrals, what strategy you're going to use, and then maybe changing that up. Remember, that can help you break the monotony, help you narrow your focus, and think a little bit more about being intentional, with those calls. I love that.
Very good. So why don't we open it up to the group here? If you have a question, you can unmute yourself and ask. You've got 2 great resources here, so feel free to do it. If nobody does ask, then I have a couple other things, and then we can move on. But let's see if we have some folks with some questions. You must have intimidated.
Shy realtors.
I was going to try. So that was a really good role play with the pop.
But it wasn't good enough, clearly.
Do what?
It wasn't good enough, clearly.
It was good. I just wanted to know, do you think you could role play introducing somebody into your client appreciation program? Like what?
Nice. Larry, you want to be the realtor?
Sure. Ring, ring.
Hello.
Ben, it's Larry Sanders at Hometown Realty. How are you, man?
Larry, how you doing? Good to hear from you.
I'm good, brother. I'm good. Calling today with a little bit of a random purpose. You got 3 to 5 minutes for me?
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Cool, man. I appreciate it. So main reason I'm calling a few people like you today, Ben, is mostly because I think a lot of you guys and y'all have always been big supporters. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to educate my clients a little bit more about what my client appreciation program is, because it's a little quirky. Not a lot of realtors are doing it. And to be honest with you, I've gotten some feedback that it is kind of weird, kind of quirky. So I just wanted to tell you a little bit about what it is and see how it might, benefit you and your family. Is that cool?
I'm a little weird and quirky. I'm all ears.
You're definitely weird and quirky. That's why I love you. So client appreciation, it's it's really threefold for us. The first side of it is really the things we do event-wise to appreciate our clients. We do a few things throughout the year. A good example, this year we're trying to rent out a portion of the diamond to do a baseball game with the Flying Squirrels. You and your family would be invited to that, not because you've done business with us in the past, just because we feel like you go out of your way to try to support us whenever you can, and we dig it. So of course you can be on the lookout for invites to stuff like that. For me though, the bigger piece of the puzzle is the value add. So each month, some people think it's just a piece of mail that we send out every month. I work with a company that strategically finds material and information that's relevant to what we're all going through right now. I take it a step further, and I usually try to find a business affiliate of mine that I already have a relationship with that might be able to serve my clients too. Good example of that is the mailer that you just got with the spring prep plan. I've got power washers, I've got landscapers, I have all these people that you need. So short of going on Angie's list or God forbid getting on Facebook for a referral, I want you to call me for those types of things. And that's part of the client appreciation program. Last piece of the puzzle, and I know I'm throwing a lot at you today, but the last piece of the puzzle is something that I just personally believe in, and that's handwritten notes, especially on your birthday. So yeah, whether you're a guy and sending birthday cards to guys isn't the coolest thing in the world, you're still going to get one from me. And one of my little quirks is I usually include a dollar scratcher in my birthday cards because I want you to call me when you win big. Again, quirky, right? But I'm calling a few people like you to get feedback. Just wanted to know what you think of it.
I would just appreciate if you threw a $10 scratcher in mine, but other than that, I think it's pretty good.
I tell you what, Benjamin, with your track record, you may have a $10 scratcher, or for you, it'll be nice and thick because I'll give you 10 $1 scratchers.
Larry, what do I need to do to be a part of this client appreciation program?
Quite frankly, not much different than what you do now. But the premise of all this, man, is my business at this point, and I'm grateful for it, my business at this point is 97% by referral. That means everybody I serve comes from someone like you, or it's somebody I've served in the past. Right now, though, Ben, we're making a huge effort to try to find sellers in Chesterfield, Henrico, and Hanover. I'm sure you've heard about the sellers market. I won't beat that dead horse, but I'm strategically trying to find people in those areas that are looking to sell their homes.
Great. I'll put my thing cap on, see if I can find you somebody, Larry.
You're the man, buddy. Let's catch up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks for lunch or drinks or something like that.
That sounds great. Thanks, Larry.
All right, buddy. Talk to you soon.
Golf clap. All right. Good work. Becky, how was that? Thumbs up?
That was excellent.
Very good. So you can see everybody can have their own style, whatever, but basically, that's a great introduction to somebody who is, if you're brand new to the business or just trying to get started with this, that's a great way to get things rolling, a good conversation to have. Any other questions from the group? Here's one. Somebody have one?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
As being a newer agent, Larry and Ben and Dean also, was there a preference of who and what you worked, speaking specifically of like a buyer or seller or whatever came across? Should it be a huge importance put on a buyer or a seller when you're starting up in your business?
That's tricky. I don't know. I think that might be more opinion based. I think there's going to be people out there that'll take a chance on you as a new agent for a listing just based on their level of care for you. There are people out there that'll support you. I think maybe with more cold leads, at least in my early listing appointments, I felt like the number one question was like, how much experience do you have? How many homes have you listed and sold? And so that may make newer agents feel like buyers are a better initial avenue, but I don't know that there's a right answer to that, Terrell. That's just kind of my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think as the realtor, whether or not you want to work with buyers and sellers will definitely require some trial and error. I think the common thought process among clients is that listing agents need to be more experienced. But that's when you really got to get into understanding the objection handlers. I'll also say this, how you market yourself is really important, of course, and you want to market yourself for what you want and what you're aiming for. But to go off that, I'll share with you a quote from Andy Andrews, who spoke at the Buffini seminar years ago, probably 2015, 2016. He wrote some great books. He said that traditional marketing is nothing but a penalty you pay for simply not being remarkable. It hit me really, really hard. Traditional marketing is nothing but a penalty you pay for simply not being remarkable. So you get, and I'm sorry if you guys do, but you get people that, in my opinion, they're spending it or wasting dollars on things like farming neighborhoods and Zillow and this and that and blah, 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 blah. It's because they're not simply remarkable. And that's okay. It can make money. My opinion, once again, my opinion. I'm not saying it's a horrible thing, it's just my opinion. You're just simply not confident enough in how remarkable you are with your relationships. Whether you work with buyers, sellers, foreclosures, short sales, new construction, whatever, your friends are going to call you, Terrell, because they love you, period. They love you. It's your responsibility to generate and deepen those relationships.
Nice.
And you asked my opinion, so I'll give you a quick one. I think your confidence level, your ability to do the right thing every day, treat people the way they want to be treated, then that's going to open the doors for you to basically all the avenues of business. If you know, like what Benjamin was saying earlier about feeling annoying, maybe you don't sense the value in what you're doing. But when you learn the business and you have the value and you know confidently that you're going to be able to represent both buyers and sellers and do an excellent job for them, then the world will bring them to you. I honestly believe that. It's like the real estate gods will rain the good stuff on you. It is easier to get buyers when you're new. In this market, you know, obviously a seller, a listing is really a paycheck, you know. So if I were a brand new agent and I were really going to try to focus, I would do everything I could to try to get listings, because that's the quickest way to a paycheck in 2021. All right.
Hey guys,
have a
I've got a
question.
quick question.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead.
Oh, it's fine. Go ahead. I won't forget. I'm driving.
So, if you were going to go ahead and take the initiative to start a networking group, how would you begin? Like, where would you begin to kind of form the folks that you want in it?
I have an answer for you. Nadeem, start with one. You don't need a group, you need one. Then you two guys or you guy and girl go find the next one. You have to start with one. If you have one, get together, figure out what your networking group and what your group of relationships is going to look like, right? Classic Buffini, it's not a list of contacts, it's a list of relationships. And then go out and find the next one. If you try to skip ahead and say, we need to find 20 people to meet weekly, you're crazy. Find one and start meeting with that person once a week, same time, same place. Don't be late. Stick to the agenda no matter how awkward it is with only two people. You have to start with one. It's like when people want to start a team, you start with one teammate and you start with a weekly meeting or a weekly phone call it's a non-negotiable. That's just what happens. You got to set the structure up as if it's your team and you start with one.
And Nadeem, I mean, obviously I'm in total agreement with Ben, and I think networking is something that most new agents should be trying to do a version of. The flip side though is I think whether it's one person, two people or more, setting expectations up front of value going out and value coming in, every single member of the networking group, there should be value coming in and value going out for that individual person. And if you have anybody where you don't set those expectations, that's where you hear about some of the networking groups being split, maybe some takers more than givers, but everybody comes in with the right expectation, and everybody's committed to growth from there. But like Benjamin said, if you've got the one, you're already getting started.
Nadeem, a lot of new agents, they try to form these groups on their own, and it's possible. But there's groups called, like there's 212. That's a company that is set up to build these referral groups. BNI is another one, and there may be others. Agents shy away because there's an expense with that. Okay. However, in my experience, I've seen these structured groups, the BNIs and the 212s, become, most of those groups stick and become successful, versus when you and me and Sally and Jill and Al try to form our own, we don't really know what we're doing. We don't have enough structure. There's not enough accountability, and ultimately they fail. So my advice would maybe be to try to get towards one of those organized groups and have some support in the structure that's there in place.
So Dean, I mean, that's kind of what sparked all this. I had lunch with Andy from 212 a couple days ago, and there aren't any that don't already have one or two real estate agents already in there.
Yeah, no problem. You start your own. I mean, that's, Ben, did you start your own group?
No, I didn't. I joined one that had 3 people in it.
Okay,
Years
well,
ago.
basically you started from scratch. Larry, how about you?
Same. Well, I started one from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was involved in 2 different ones and started them both from scratch. So don't be afraid of that. You just find the right people, get out there, and then, you know, have Andy and his team help you build it. That's what they do. And so it may take a little while, but just like anything that it's worth doing, you know, you put some work into it and you can build it, it could be great.
Yeah, Nadeem, make sure you are, I don't want to say picky, but selective. Make sure you have a good relationship with, Don't just throw somebody in because they're a body, right? We're not building a real estate firm here. We just don't take anybody in our network.
Hey,
Sorry.
good question. Marissa, you had a question?
Yes, I did have a question. Sorry, I'm in the car. I've been delivering my Cinco de Mayo pop buys, but
Heck yeah.
Love it.
but I was wondering, with sending out the 100 mailers and then sending out the e-reports, and you're calling all these people after you send the mailers, do you have like, what is your timeline look for calling everyone? Because are you getting through those 100 calls before you turn around and send out the e-report, or how does that work? How are you splitting it up?
That's a great question. I will say, I don't call all 100 people that I send the mailer out to. I always have a reason that I'm calling people, and usually to follow up on the item of value is the last resort at this point in my business. Early on, I didn't really have any other reasons to call other than the item of value. So you think 100 people, 25 a week over 4 weeks in a month. I mean, you just knock them down like that. I don't think you need to overcomplicate it. I think what we do is you try to think and strategize too much without actually doing it.
Okay. I was thinking 100 people by the 15th, and then turn around, call them back by the 1st, so I could send out the mailer.
I think if you truly want to work the system with 100 people, call 25 a week, and that falls nicely into the 531 program.
Okay.
The other thing with the referral maker with Buffini is, you know, you're gonna rank, you're gonna sort and qualify your clients, so you'll have them A+, A, Bs. The way it's structured, and I'm kind of a nerd, I just kind of follow the rules. But A+ is you're talking to them every month because they love you, they love hearing from you. So it never even feels like a burden. Your A's are more closer to 45 days, and then your B's are every 60 days. So following that system, I know I'm calling my B's every other month, and I don't feel bad about calling somebody 6 times a year, really, about anything, you know. But just remember those top dogs, those A+, you could call them once a week and they still love you. You know, there's no such thing as a cap on that quantity of calls if the material is good.
Okay. I also have a question about pop buys really quick. With pop buys and when things are stacking, like, do you ever feel like there's too many pop buys, like for your personal? Because like I have my Cinco de Mayo ones that I made for the people that aren't moms. And then Mother's Day, I'm doing Friday with the moms and the flowers and things like that. But then I'm also like, do I do something for Memorial Day? And then like, how many is too many? Because then like, what do you do for the rest of the month?
That's tough. I think it's based on personal choice. And my advice is, in the beginning, there's no such thing as too much, especially when you're dropping off a small gift for people. We typically, if we stay consistent with it, we typically try to do pop buys once a month. Again, just to stay relevant, stay active in the lives of the clients.
Marissa, just tell your people, look, if you're sick and tired of me coming by, you start sending me business, and then you can determine when I'm coming by your house. Otherwise, I'm coming once a month.
Yeah, make me too busy to come by. Make me too busy to come by.
I mean, they're not expensive pop buys like my Cinco de Mayo one that I did. I'll show you one right here. It's just a bag and it's got like salsa and like.
Can I get one?
What? Where do you gonna send me some business? I'll send some over.
Nice.
But I just did this and then I made my own little tags. So it was like $3, but then I'm like, then the flowers on Friday, and then do I do like, ketchup and mustard and stuff for Memorial Day, and then I just didn't know like how many is too many, or just like do I break them off in groups?
I think the way you broke it off in groups for like use this week as an example, the ones who aren't mothers you're going to see for Cinco de Mayo. I think little things like that work perfectly.
Here's the great thing. You're doing something. I mean,
right.
The rest of us are sitting on our butts. Here I am, all I'm doing is drinking tequila for the.
This is my favorite part.
But
It's
I
fun,
mean,
yeah.
that's excellent work. I mean, that's just good stuff. And we never have calls as the management and ownership of Hometown Realty where people are like, you know what, your agents are just taking such good care of us. They're bringing us way too many gifts and they're doing too good of a job. We don't usually get complaints on that. So maybe you could be the first agent to have somebody call us and say, you know what, Marissa's just bringing so much good stuff and so much love and joy and energy. We're just on cloud nine and we feel so good. Could you get her to slow that down, please?
Right. We need her to be more negative.
Okay.
There's somebody who's really getting it done, and hats off to her. Well, guys, look, we're running out of time here. So, I'm sure these guys, if you want to reach out to them offline, email, phone call, whatever else, I'm sure they'll be willing to do that. Ben, Larry, thank you so much. This whole thing, I say it over and over and over again, it's treat people the way you want to be treated. Both of you guys, when you were trying to climb the ladder, there were people above you that reached back and pulled you up, and now you're doing it. And everybody who's here, the dozens of people that are here, hopefully you can see that that's how the world works. There's plenty of room at the top for everybody. Let's all get there together. And thank you for all your hard work, Larry, Ben. Appreciate everything. Hope everybody has a great day. And again, this has been recorded. We'll shoot out if you want to watch it again. This is probably one of the best ones we've ever done. So thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Dino.
Steve.
Appreciate all you do, man. Thank you.
See ya.
Absolutely. Thanks, Dino.
Thanks, guys.
Y'all smash it.